aspect of thing that is happening in European nations. So because of socialism, few people who are aristocrats don't want the socialism to prevail throughout the European nations. So they are trying to stop the spread of socialism. So during that time, there are so much of confusions and chaos which are happening in the European nation as well as in Russia, which we have seen in the previous class. Now we are getting into the new topic, that is the civil war which is existing in Russia. So what is the civil war? You will be asking, what is the civil war, ma'am? We have not seen the civil war at all. Yes, you might have not seen the civil war, but it is the war which happens between the common people who are living in the nation is known as civil war. Simply can be said as two group of people who fight directly in a nation is known as the civil war. Example, in India, if you have two group of people like the who want a democracy and who don't want democracy, so when they fight among themselves directly and some casualty which happens and lot of injured people are there, it is known as the civil war which is happening in India. So now we will see the civil war that is happening in Russia. So if you see, this civil war was happening in Russia, and we saw previously the Bolsheviks is the party which is dominating most of the places of Russia. Yes or no, my dear students? Yes, we saw this Bolsheviks is the party which was existing, which took over the control of Russia, Russian constituencies, as well as the major part of Russia was under the control of the Bolsheviks, except the imperial part of Russia alone. So what this Bolsheviks party did, when the civil war was happening, there was a changing attitude which was happening in the Bolsheviks party. So Bolsheviks were been really fighting for the workers, factorymen who are been working hard, right? So the attitude, now what happened? They are changing their attitude. So what is the change in attitude that is happening? There was a lot of change which was happening, which was against the government as well as against the wish of the people. So then you can find that the attitude of the Bolsheviks was continuously changing. And you can see that the Bolsheviks, non-Bolsheviks, socialists, liberals and the supporters of the aristocrats organized to fight the Bolsheviks. So the civil war, now you can understand between whom the civil war is actually happening. The civil war is actually happening between the Bolsheviks party and the non-Bolsheviks, that is socialists, liberals and the supporters of aristocrats are being fighting. So now what is happening inside a nation between two group of people? Yes or no, my dear students? So it is called as civil war. Can you understand now what is civil war? It's actually between the Bolsheviks and the socialists, liberals and supporters of the aristocrats. Okay, so this is called as the civil war. So now we'll see in detail how the civil war is. So previously we saw that the Bolsheviks were being the big power who had the commandant itself in their hands, and all of the European nation was under their control, which we saw. Right? Yes, we have seen all these things in the previous class itself, where even Moscow was under the control of Bolsheviks, except the central part of Russia. The central part of Russia, which consists of the socialists, liberals as well as the supporters of aristocrats were been living over there. So even they were being against the Bolsheviks part. So now the war is between the Bolsheviks, socialist revolutionaries and the pro-Fippolis, is the supporters of aristocrats. So each one had their own colors. Like Bolsheviks were being represented with red color, socialist revolutionaries were being represented with green color, and the pro-Fippolis being supported by the white colors. So this is how the color was also existing. So you can find that this denotes a flag, right? Yes, but it's not like actually a flag. It is a representation of their own colors. So meanwhile, what is happening in Russia is that that time you can find the controlled most part of Russian Empire. So these two, that is green and white, were having the major control of Russian Empire. Russian Empire means the central part of Russia was under the control of green and the white. So the green and whites were being supported by few peoples from outer side. Like they got the support from France, America and Britain. Friends, America and Britain were supporting them. They did not lend the direct support. Instead, they gave them money, equipments to wage war, defense equipments, right? Definitely. And they were also supporting with soldiers. So indirect support was being provided for the greens and white in order to reduce, in order to suppress the Bolsheviks party. So you know why they are trying to suppress this Bolsheviks party? Bolsheviks party is about the giving importance for all the people, working people, for factory workers, everyone should be given equal representation. That is what is the Bolsheviks policy also, right? We saw. And they wanted the land of the peasants to be redistributed. So these people, you know, France, Britain and America are being a capitalist nation. Capitalist nation will think differently, where they want all of the control to be in their hands. So for that reason only, they were been supporting the Russian troops, okay, by sending their own troops to fight against the Bolsheviks. And in Britain also you can see, when Nazism has been there, during that time, Russia, France, America was against the other aspect of Germany. Okay, you will study in Nazism chapter, Hitler, against Hitler they were being there, right? So that in that chapter I will explain you detailing. So this is the condition of civil war. And in the Bolshevik side you can find the Bolsheviks instructed them the land to be redistributed. No. So the peasants, most of the peasants were being the soldiers of Bolsheviks party. So they started disintegrating. The army started disintegrating. So what is this disintegration? Means the people who were being there as soldiers wanted to go back to their village for doing the farming activity as the land was distributed to the peasants. So they felt that will be secured for them. So there was a disintegration of army of Bolsheviks is also happening. So this is happening in one corner of Russia. So next thing, if you see what is, so when this is happening, you can find that they were been having a war, civil war which is happening between the Bolsheviks and the green and white men. So when this is happening, you can find that the people who have been fighting, they started looting, banding and doing robbery activities in the common place was also happening. And when this was being done, like redistribution of land was being given to the peasants, you can find the peasants started moving towards the village areas. Yes? So when they are moving towards the village areas, the private owners were not happy with them. So they started harassing the peasants who were being living. So there was an unpopularity which happened for the non-Bolsheviks. That means these two people have lost their popularity during that time. And that time the Bolsheviks had the control over the Russian Empire. So when they are having control over the Russian Empire, you can find that was happened because of the cooperation of the non-Russians, nationalists as well as the Muslim jihadis. Okay, so based on them, they got the support. And when they were being in the Central Asia, Kivi is a place. So when they are there over there, they were being fighting and they killed massive people were being killed in the name of defeating socialism. So this created an confusion among the common peoples. That is, the people who are living in Russia felt that this is something which is going on wrong, because how can Bolsheviks can kill this much amount of people in the name of the war? So there was a lot of confusion also was going on in 1920. Okay, and in 1920 January this was happening. And next you can see that partially when the Bolsheviks government came into existence as an ruling party, as an administrating party, that time also there was a lot of confusion which was existing, where you can find the non-Russians were being given the Soviet Union to administrate. Private and state when it was formed, you can find that in December 1922, the government was being forced to follow the policies of the Bolsheviks. And similarly, you can also see that the people who were being living over there were forced to follow the policies of the Bolsheviks. Even nomadic peoples. Nomadic people means they will be like moving from one place to another for their livelihood, so lifestyle, okay, so they are called as nomadic peoples. Even nomadic peoples, they have been forcefully made to follow the policies of the Bolsheviks party. So this is what happened in the Civil War. Okay, my dear students, we will have a quick recap of it. So we see, we had the topic that is Civil War. In Civil War, we saw that the war was existing between the Bolsheviks party and the non-Bolsheviks party. Okay, so during the Civil War, you can find the attitudes of the Bolsheviks were being changing and they were being acting really different than the other peoples. Then you can also see that the non-Bolsheviks, socialists, liberals and the supporters of aristocrats started organizing a fight against the Bolsheviks. So they were being given the different colors, like Bolsheviks had the red color, socialist revolutionaries had the green color and pro-Turks had the white color. So we can find this is how they were being there, and these red, green and white were being called as the non-Bolsheviks, where they were being having the control of the central Russia, but the remaining area was under the control of Bolsheviks party. So entire country of Russia was under the control of Bolsheviks except the central part, where socialists, liberals and the supporters of aristocrats stayed. Okay, so there they had the control of the Russian Empire, and they also got support from the French, America and Britain. Not directly, indirectly they got the support in the name of defense, equipments and machines for fighting against the war. And in the Bolshevik side you can find that as they have ordered previously, the land to be redistributed. So the land was being redistributed to the peasants. So maximum of the peasants, the soldiers are peasants. So they wanted to go back to their own village for doing the farming activity. So there was a disintegration of army was happening in the Bolshevik side. Okay, so when they were being fighting, you can find that there was a lot of looting, famine, as well as the robbery was happening when the war was existing between the Bolsheviks and non-Bolsheviks party. Okay, so this is happening on one side. On the other side, you can see that the property, private property owners, when the peasants were being moving to their village areas, they were being harassed by the non-Bolsheviks, that is the socialists, liberals and the supporters of aristocrats. So because of which they lost the popularity among the common people. Okay, so by January 1920, you can find that the Bolsheviks party, this Bolsheviks party was having the entire control over Russia along with the cooperation of the Russian nationalists and the Muslim party. So when they were being combining and doing, you can find that in the central part of Asia, they have started fighting. In that there was a massive killing that was happening. So in the name of socialists, defeating the socialists, it created a problem among the people. So it created a confusion among the people whether the Bolshevik is really fighting for the welfare of the people or just for coming into the rule it is functioning. Those kind of problem was also arising. And remaining, you can find that he also gave like the private owners, non-Russians were being given the aspect of the non-Russians were being given with the states union. Russian state union was given. So the non-Russians were being given the states union. Russian state union was given. And when the state was being formed, you can also see that the Russian Empire was under the control of the Bolsheviks, and it was forcing the government given to follow its own policies, and even the common peoples were being forced to follow the policies of the Bolsheviks, and even the nomadic peoples, people who move from one place to another, were also forced to follow the policies of the Bolsheviks party. So this is what is happening in the civil war which is prevailing in Russia. Okay, my dear students, the remaining we'll see in the next class. Thank you, my dear students.